What's going on, YouTube? This is BoxingWave. I'm going to make a video response to Rilo Jenkins. Alright, make sure you subscribe to his channel. One of my personal favorites lately. I mean, he's very consistent. Uh, he speaks on very thought out topics. Okay, he make very thought out videos um, about how people view the sport, what certain fans say about the sport. Just general perspective on certain topics. He doesn't really do like prediction videos and all of that, but he speaks on a lot of things that involves boxing on a psychological standpoint. All right, really like his videos in his channel. Um, he has a very unique channel. Okay, I'm gonna post a video. He made a video called "The Ring General." Okay, where he speaks on ring generalship and a number of things. I'm gonna post that video, the link to that video, in the description of this video. So if you want to go check it out, check out the video. It's a very good video, and make sure you subscribe to his channel if you are on YouTube. Now, ring generalship is one of the four categories when it comes to like scoring or judging boxing. Okay, you have defense, you have effective aggressiveness, you have hard punching, and then you have ring generalship. Let me warn you guys, this might be a long video, okay? I'm going to speak on a lot of stuff here, all right? Ring generalship, you can actually incorporate all of those things into ring generalship. Most people believe that ring generalship just means movement, okay? And it doesn't really just mean movement. People think lateral movement and having footwork and dancing around a ring like they're Sugar Ray Leonard or Muhammad Ali. That's what a lot of people think ring generalship is, okay? A lot of people also believe that having a lateral movement of those two fighters that I just named, like Muhammad Ali did as a heavyweight, or Sugar Ray Leonard did against Duran in their rematch, right? A lot of people think that you're an inferior fighter if you can't move around the ring like they did, okay, when you're boxing. And that's also false, okay, because you can be there's a lot of great fighters that are flat-footed fighters, okay. There's a lot of guys that could use that kind of movement in the ring, but just chooses not to. They only use it when they feel like they have to, okay. There's a lot of flat-footed fighters that are excellent at cutting off the ring, okay? Now, ring generalship, to me, like he also had stated, whoever's in control of the fight, okay, actually might be the most important out of the four categories based on the style that is of fighting that specific fighter chooses to fight, okay? Ring generalship, your control, it doesn't really determine, it really doesn't matter where the fight is whether it's in the center of the ring or whether you're against the ropes, you're on your front foot, you're on the back foot, whatever. It really depends on who's in control, all right? The pacing of the fight, all right? When Ruslan Provodnikov fought Chris Algieri, Ruslan fought the fight that he normally would fight. He never had good defense, okay? He's not known to have good defense. I'm sure if he wanted to use it, he would. But his way, well, from what I see in the ring, he rather takes hits to get close enough to land that one shot, okay? He's not big on the combinations. He doesn't use a jab. He walks forward, straight forward. He cuts off the ring, and he wants to land one big shot. One or two big shots. He's a hard puncher, okay? He's very aggressive. He pressures whoever he's fighting. He's usually moving forward, okay? We don't really see him moving backwards much or someone backing him up, okay? He hasn't fought those type of fighters. The 3 guys that he lost to don't have a lot of punching power. They're not known to have a lot of punching power. And then, like, you think of Herrera, he lost to Mauricio Herrera. He lost to Tim Bradley. He lost to Chris Algieri. A lot of people had a problem with the Chris Algieri loss and the Tim Bradley loss because Algieri and Bradley both were knocked down. They were both hurt. All right. They looked beat up after the fight was over. Both of them had to go to the hospital. Okay. Because they took that much punishment from Ruslan Provodnikov. But Provodnikov still lost the fight. Okay. So these fights it's very debatable who's in control. Because sometimes when you are in control and the pacing of the fight is going your way, basically what we see as ring generalship is when you were successful in past fights, how were you fighting? When you were successful and when you were comfortable and when you weren't in trouble, how did you look? You compare that to this fight. Okay, Ruslan, he's getting punched in the face a lot. Chris is winning rounds. If you're scoring the rounds and based on how many punches landed against how many punches thrown, okay, you can say Chris Algieri is winning the rounds, but Ruslan is used to getting hit like this moving forward. And when he does land that one shot, is it more effective than the 5 shots that Chris Algieri landed? It's your call. This is why there's 3 judges and it's not just one. Sometimes I think there need to be 5 judges, because I don't even think 3 is enough in boxing. But it's all opinion based on how you see the fight. Sometimes there are robberies in fighting. There's boxing. Sometimes judges really they see the fight different ways. Because I think Ruslan could have easily got the decision for that fight. I think Chris Algieri won. But I wanted it to be a draw. But pacing and controlling of the fight is what matters. It's not just ring generalship. It's not just movement. Okay, it's how that fighter, who is controlling the fight. Okay, how the fight is going. All right. Sometimes the ring general might not really be the ring general, because if that fighter just wants, if the opponent, the guy that is actually losing early, maybe he wants that fighter to get fatigued. Maybe he wants his opponent to get fatigued. The ring general, the guy that is in control of the fight early, might be in control early because it might get tired by the second half of the fight. Look at Tim Bradley and Manny Pacquiao's rematch. Tim Bradley was in control the first half of the fight, in the rematch, and he was throwing a lot of power shots trying to knock Pacquiao out, but Tim Bradley was tired by the 3rd round. He looked fatigued. Now, if you seen the first fight, it was the total opposite. Tim Bradley was in control in the championship rounds in the first fight, whereas Pacquiao looked gassed out. Pacquiao, he wasn't the ring general in the championship rounds of that fight. You know why? Because Pacquiao never fatigues. Okay? He throws 1,000. He's known to throw 1,000 punches a fight all the way up to the 12th round. He's busy. Okay? But when he fought Tim Bradley in that first fight, he looked tired. Okay? Not saying that Tim Bradley deserved the win or not, because I thought the first fight was a draw. But I know that Pacquiao didn't look like himself in the first fight in the later rounds. Okay, he didn't look like himself. Whereas Bradley was the one that was in control of the rounds. Even if he wasn't as efficient, he was in control because of the aggression, okay? The pacing, his pressure towards Pacquiao, where Pacquiao was just fighting in spurts, 30 seconds a round. Whereas normally we see Pacquiao, when he is successful in fights, he's normally throwing a lot of punches, okay? Terms that people use for fights to describe fighters and styles. I don't think Rilo Jenkins said in his video that people make boxing more complicated than what it is. Okay, the object is to beat the other guy up. All right, whoever beats the other fighter up wins the fight. Okay, all of this slick fighter, boxer talk. He's a boxer. He's a brawler. He's a slugger. He's a slick fighter. I don't think it complicates the sport. I think it just for debate purposes, just to talk. I think it's used. The terms are used just to describe a certain boxer. I don't think it has. I don't think it's complicated. I don't think it's. First of all, these terms been used for decades. This is nothing new. If you watch old fights, and you watch the build up, or you watch interviews from decades ago, these terms were being used back then. Okay, people said this is the boxer, this is the brawler. He has better boxing ability. He's going to use his boxing skills in the ring. Okay, these are just terms. Obviously, they're both boxers. Okay, they're fighters, but they're both boxers. Obviously, they're both boxers. But when people say he's the boxer, okay, they're just describing a fighter maybe using more fundamentals that you would need to get trained to learn. You would need to get trained to. Whereas brawler is just, and I'm not saying that a boxer or a guy that fights a certain style is superior to the brawler. There is no superior or inferior style in boxing. Okay? If you're a brawler and you just move forward, all right, if you're considered to be a brawler, right, and you don't have the great lateral movement, or you don't have the great upper body movement or anything like that, great footwork, and you don't have the greatest timing. You just come forward with the pressure. You just keep, you don't have good defense, and you just keep throwing punches. And let's say you're Maidana before, even now, but even before he was getting trained by Robert Garcia, he was just a slugger. That's what he's known for. Obviously, he's a boxer. Obviously. But his style is to be the brawler style. He moves forward and he throws hard punches. That's it. Okay? Doesn't have much defense. Now, being that he is a boxer, he is being trained somewhat. To the average person or to an amateur, he might be the superior boxer. Okay? Because the average person, or the average guy that's just random guy that isn't getting trained by fighting, and he gets into a fight at a big guy and gets into a fight in a bar somewhere. Okay, Marcos Maidana or Ruslan Probatnikov might not have good defense, but against another professional, good, experienced professional boxer. But if they're fighting someone that's less experienced, or an amateur, or a guy that doesn't even box, it might be hard for me to hit Ruslan Provatnikov or Marcos Maidana. Maybe not for Floyd Mayweather to hit or Chris Algieri to hit, but it might be hard for me to hit because I'm not a professional boxer. Okay? So he might have good defense to me, but he's described as a brawler when he's being compared to other professional boxers. I don't think it makes anything complicated by describing a boxer, using a term to describe a boxer. I don't think it makes it complicated at all. Especially because people have been doing that for decades. It doesn't make anything complicated at all. And I don't think that any style is superior, because every style, there's a way to beat every style. Just because certain fighters are undefeated, like TBE, Floyd Mayweather, okay, just because he hasn't lost doesn't mean that he can't be beaten. His style is the superior style to a brawler. He's fought brawlers, but he's won. But he's had trouble against guys that pressured him. And you know what? Not all of those guys that pressured him, like Jose Luis Castillo. He's not a brawler. I wouldn't consider him a brawler. People might say, all right, Floyd is the boxer out of the two of them. But if a fighter gets in the ring with another fighter, he might fight totally different. With Marvin Hagler for Roberto Duran, for example, Hagler showed a lot of respect towards Duran. Okay, Hagler did not fight Duran the same way that he fought Hearns. Okay, you would think that Hagler was a brawler if you saw him and Hearns fight for the first time and you never see neither one of them fight. Okay, the first round they were both slugging. They both were exchanging, trading. All right, Hagler got hurt. Okay, it was a war. But after that, Hearns started getting on his bike a little bit. Started using more lateral movement, you know. He was using the entire ring. Whereas Hagler was just coming forward. But when Hagler fought Duran, it was a little different. You know, Hagler was using a lot more movement. He wasn't just moving forward, okay? Some fighters can use a different style. Some fighters get exposed fighters get exposed all the time because they are one-dimensional. They fight a certain way every single fight. We seen that with Russell Jr. just recently when he lost to Lomachenko. Okay, usually we already knew he was flat-footed. There's nothing wrong with being flat-footed. Okay, if you're flat-footed and you make it work for you, then it's fine. Okay, you know how to cut off the ring, or you know how to fight on your back foot. See, Russell Jr. didn't know how to fight on his back foot. Okay, he didn't really know what to do. All right, he never was a good defensive fighter, period. He's usually fighting guys that are less experienced, okay, where he can just walk them down, throw a bunch of power shots, leave himself completely open because there was no threat, and that's it. But what happens when you fight a guy that's fighting back, that's bigger than you, okay, that's hard to hit because of their movement. Their upper body movement is so good that it's hard for you to hit them. And they're backing you up. Then what do? Well, that's why he lost the fight. He got dominated. Same thing with Broner and Maidana. Got dominated. Broner, another guy, usually walking down, stalking his opponents. But once he fights someone that has a bit stronger than him, more power than him, okay, that throws punches at a high volume. He didn't have in plan B when he was backing up against the ropes. He didn't know what to do. So, when it comes to styles, there is no inferior or there's no dominant style. Okay, there's not a style that beats everything. There's styles we prefer. Okay. If I could think of 5 fighters today, right? If I think of 5 fighters today that no matter who they fight in the division, 90% of the time, 9 out of 10 times, I would probably pick them to win. I would probably say Floyd Mayweather, Erislandy Lara, Ricky Diao, Andre Ward, and maybe Terrence Crawford. Okay, 5 guys that I think no matter who they fight, 9 out of 10 of those guys in their division, they would beat. I say 9 out of 10 because I prefer their style. It's a preference. I would prefer their style over a Brandon Rios style. You know, because reality is their styles in boxing. You might not think that the terms mean anything, or it shouldn't be there, but because the object is to beat up the other opponent. But the reality is there is styles, okay? I prefer those styles, okay, of those 5 fighters I just named. But there's fighters out there that can beat them. This is why I think Keith Thurman is he's one of my favorite guys because Keith Thurman can fight that style of those fighters I just named, but he has the punching power to knock anyone out with one punch. Usually it's one or the other. Usually the slugger got all the power that can just knock you out. But if they fight a guy that has that slickness that's going to use the entire ring and use that jab and to score and win rounds by scoring, and then that guy that relies on that one punch, this is why Ruslan is going to always lose unless he gets another trainer or starts implementing some kind of defense in his style and learn how to cut the ring off a little better. He's always going to lose to these guys. He's always going to lose. He could beat them up and everything. He could have them walking out with their eyes puffed up, but he's going to lose when it comes to the judges. It's always going to happen. I'm not saying that's an inferior style, but if he does not knock them out, what happens when you don't stop a fighter? Most good fighters have the majority of their knockouts are early on to midway through their career. Once they start fighting, once they get a title, once they're on a path to get a title and they start fighting nothing but top five contenders, the knockouts are not there. Most of the majority of people's fighters' knockouts, are early in their career. Those guys that go 20-0, they're the majority of their career. Or beginning of their career. Most of their knockouts is early on in their career. Whereas when the competition goes up, they have to start, you start fighting guys that fought guys like with power like yours before. They've been in the ring with guys with a lot of power before. They have more experience. Okay, they fought guys that hit harder than you. All right, guys that are better boxers overall in general. Okay, what happens when you can't knock out that opponent? This is why I personally like fighters that want to win the fight. If the knockout comes, then go for it. If I hit the guy and it hurts and he's in trouble, finish him off. But don't rely on solely the knockout. I need a knockout to win. From the first round, I need a knockout to win. Oh, it's good. It's exciting. It makes it not debatable to win when you knock someone out. We all know that. But when the knockout doesn't come, when it doesn't come, then what? What's the plan B? Because this guy is winning the rounds, and I'm trying to focus on one punch. Okay? It works for a lot of fighters, but this is why a lot of big punchers that usually rely on an early knockout, they get their first loss from that guy they can't knock out. Their first loss is from that guy they can't knock out. Okay? Because maybe that guy is either too durable or that guy is just too hard to hit. One or the other. Alright, but anyway, that's just my thoughts on ring generalship, styles of fighters and stuff. Shout out to Rilo again. His is a good video. Like I said, if you want to check out his video, check it on the description of this video. I'll put the link up. Alright, it was a dope video. And that's just my thoughts, on ring generalship and the terms that people use and all of that good stuff. All right. Sorry it had to be so long, but you get into this video here is more like a debate back and forth type of thing. This is not really like, whatever. But peace.